Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the Animated Girl Profiles Confidential. And we're going to be looking at the first time at a Sonic girl, and you see exactly who it is. You're probably surprised it's not exactly who you thought it would be. But we are looking at Lupe Wolf, or Lupe, she's called. And Lupe originally debuted in 1994, and essentially the first part or chapter of the Doomsday Saga finale. She was introduced as the leader of the Wolfpack Freedom Fighters. Now, ever since then, she has proven to be a very popular character. You know, she's made an appearance, like I said, in Cry of the Wolf. She made a return in the finale Doomsday Project. So obviously you knew that they had plans for her and several other new characters they had introduced in Season 2 for the possible following season, had that season been made. Now, Lupe made her comic book debut around issue, I believe, 46 of the Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog. And basically, her and the Wolfpack were an essential part, in a sense, of that whole situation. You see, one of her members was a traitor to the freedom fighter cause. You know, even calling this traitor Drago out on what he was doing. So, long story short, you know, Lupe has been around for quite some time and has made a huge impact. There's no doubt about that. Her appearances in the comic really expanded her character. There was even at one point where she was temporarily written out of the comics. Temporarily because of the fact that in a Sonic Super Special, which was dedicated to all the Sonic female characters, and this was the original Sonic Super Specials, the 48-page ones, in one of the stories there, she basically sacrificed herself to save the Wolfpack because of the fact that her family, her husband and her children, had been roboticized. So, to save the Wolfpack and her adopted human children from a similar fate, she basically made the choice to sacrifice herself to robotization. However, unlike anybody else that got roboticized, she was able to fight off the control just temporarily, you know, giving the Wolfpack enough time to flee for their lives, to go into hiding. Now, of course, for a time, because of this, she became a servant of Eggman. You know, this is basically when the whole Robo-Robotnik now become the Eggman deal happened. So she basically became a servant of Eggman, temporarily. That is until, I can't remember what issue or story it was, that is until the Freedom Fighters were able to, again, I can't remember how it happened or what story it was. I gotta look back on my issues, because I have the issue, believe me. But basically, long story short, she and all the other Robians, as they became known, were given back their free will. So they were no longer under the control of Eggman. Eggman no longer had control over them. So yeah, Eggman no longer had control. He, again, like I said, he no longer had control over Lupe, Uncle Chuck, or any other people that had been roboticized. And then to top that off, all of a sudden, all the Robians later on in the story disappeared. Now, of course, Sonic and several of the Freedom Fighters were quick to assume that Robotnik, Eggman, if you will, had something to do with it, but Eggman denied it. So it made Eggman wonder exactly, okay, where did these people go? Where did these people that I roboticized go? Where did they go? And eventually we find out that mysteriously a few days later, Sonic runs into his dog Mutsky, who is now de-roboticized. He's flesh and blood again. And so is everybody else, from Uncle Chuck to even Lupe. That's right, Lupe ends up being de-roboticized. But the question was exactly what happened. Nobody really knew. Nobody knew exactly how every Robian got de-roboticized back to a Mobian. Nobody knew. Nobody knew in the wolf pack how Lupe, her husband, and her children got de-roboticized. No one knew it. No one could understand how this happened. No one could point that out. No one could point it out. No one understood exactly what happened until later on in a story, as part of the Tostin space arc that occurred after 125. In one of the issues there, we find out that the Beam, who we'd seen, I think, in a previous story, in a previous story, I believe, the Beam, or at least one Beam character, I think a female Beam character, which is an alien race, basically was the reason for the de-robotization. You see, this character, I can't think of her name right now, wanted to test something out because I think she believed people, believed the same beliefs that Sonic and the others did. People deserve their own free will. The Beam, her counterparts, however, felt, hey, these people need to be roboticized. They need to be controlled, something like that. But this other character, this other Beam alien, long story short, decided, no, I want to see what happened. No, that's not right. They shouldn't do that. Let's see what happens when we de-roboticize. See if it's basically overall, what she did was essentially the right thing. She basically saw that, okay, people shouldn't be, even with their free wills, they shouldn't be living as mechanical things, not able to eat or sleep or whatever. They should be able to be flesh and blood. They should be overall free to do whatever they want. So, long story short, she's the reason Lupe and everybody else that was roboticized got de-roboticized. And that's the truth. That is the truth. That is the reason why Lupe and all the other characters, like I say, from Uncle Chuck to several others, got de-roboticized. Now, after that, Lupe still played a significant role. Of course, she had to basically rebuild her Wolfpack freedom fighters and nation because they went back to a state that they were in before her robotics. Basically, she had to rebuild. I think what happened was the Wolfpack was invited in her absence to join the Knothole Freedom Fighters in Knothole. So now that she was back, she I think along with several other freedom fighter groups that were sheltered there, decided to move on and finish up what they were doing originally, and that's rebuild the homes, rebuild the nations, and stuff like that. So Lupe ends up, overall, long story short, Lupe ends up in the long run, because of all this, becoming the Grand Chief of her Wolfpack Nation. Because of her leadership and everything, she becomes the Grand Chief of the Wolfpack Nation. Now, for a while, the Wolfpack was, like I said, they would be involved in many ways. I mean, you would have two characters that have been with the Wolfpack in comic form since their debut be spun off into the Secret Freedom Fighters team later on. But Lupe, like I said, really came into her own, really evolved throughout her time in the comics and everything. But then we had the Genesis waves. We've had the numerous Genesis waves, and after these numerous Genesis waves, things started to change. Now, the last time we saw Lupe was around issue 240, 45, 46 or something. 45, I believe. I think it was about 244, 245. I can't remember. I got to look again. But basically, she and an imposter queen of the rival cat nation, if you will, an imposter queen, in other words, someone that was posing as the cat queen to find out more information, to see what was going on. Her and Lupe end up being captured. Now Lupe, like everybody at this time, is shocked to see what happened to Sally, that Sally has been roboticized and become Mecha Sally. And this last epic appearance of hers is the fact that Robotnik, or Eggman I should say, wants her to get legionized. He wants her to become part of his legion, his Eggman Legion. And of course, one of the Legion bosses, or two of the Legion bosses, are two traitors to both their kinds. You have, I can't think of his name right now, you have one guy that's a traitor to the cat people, and then of course you have Drago, who's the traitor to the wolf pack. And of course, Lupe's not happy with the fact that Drago is a part of this, of course, because of his treachery. And we all see that Drago basically got legionized as well. And long story short, Drago believes that what Eggman's going to do here is not only have them legionize and brainwash Lupe, but they're going to have Lupe, it's going to allow Lupe to become his queen. In other words, obviously he's going to have, in other words, he wants to take a married woman and make her his queen. Crazy, right? Well, Lupe basically has to point out to Drago that his ego is getting the best of him and that he doesn't realize the truth. And the truth being that the only reason Eggman wants her legionized and part of his legion is because he wants her to be the new boss. He wants her to be the new Grand Master and not Drago. Drago or this other guy, because she's more competent, she's more intelligent, she's more strategist, is basically overall smarter and more qualified than he is. Well, basically, long story short, and I know I say that a lot in these things, but basically, long story short, Sonic and the others rescue Lupe and the imposter cat queen, find out what's happened, and basically vow to help not only save and restore Sally, but to finally stop the Eggman Empire, once and for all. And which even means putting a truce together between both the cat and the Wolfpack Nation. But that's the last time we see of Lupe, as far as I know, because the next time we see her is in a very recent issue, which was 277. And just like every character between now and then, things changed. They really did. Things changed. Because apparently here, now I don't have the issue physically yet, although I have means of getting my hands on it digitally. I don't have it yet, but from what people have noticed and have taken notice of, is this soft, rebooted, retconned version of Lupe is not older, she's younger. Yeah. Some have even said that she's younger than Sally, in a sense. I wouldn't totally say that. I'd say maybe she's about Sally's age. And you know what? This really doesn't come much as a surprise to me. You see, when her redesign was revealed at San Diego Comic-Con, when one looked at it, you pretty much knew she was going to be younger. You know, you knew she was going to be younger. In fact, that goes for a lot of characters. It's like you look at them and you know, in a sense, they're going to probably be younger than what they are. And that's exactly what happened with Lupe. She became younger. And yeah, she's still leader of the Wolfpack Nation. Don't get me wrong there. That's an obvious truth. But like I said, she's, it seems maybe not younger than Sally, but I'd say she's about the same age as Sonic and Sally in between. She's about, let's say Sonic and Sally about 17, 16, or 18, 17. We'll say she's around 16, maybe 17. And she only looks young maybe due to the fact of how she's designed. Now, a lot of people have looked at her design and have said that her design is not that bad. That it's on par to another design. I can't think of the character right now. It's on par to another character's design to where it's still the same design. It's just a little bit more Segified. It's not, Like it's a lot more, you know, it's like it's the same design, but there are differences, and you could see that. Of course, one of the differences being the fact that she's younger. And I can only think that the reason Ian Flynn went with that is to make it more relatable for the characters. Think about it. It's kind of the same thing with Nickelodeon and their TMNT series. All right? In the TMNT series, they have April and Casey being teenagers. Thus, instead of having them be adults like in other incarnations, you have them as teenagers, and thus you're having them grow up, most specifically April. You're having her grow up with the turtles, so that she'll know them basically from their teen years to the adult years. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. I think it makes it more relatable for the characters in Ian's eyes to have a Loop that's basically about the same age as they are. Now, some might argue, well, was she the same age as they were in the show? It's hard to say. I'm pretty sure she was. Maybe she was probably a year or two older than Sonic and Sally. But, because of the fact that she mentioned how her father was captured and everything in the Cry of the Wolf episode. So, I would assume in the cartoon, she might be about a year or two older. Maybe. But overall, I think the reason her redesign to make her younger happened was due to the fact that they wanted a character that could be more relatable on the same age range, if you will, as Sonic and Sally. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think she's younger. I think she's more around the same age, maybe between there. So, in a sense, so in a way, it kind of makes sense. Now, the other difference about this is she's not only a Wolfpack leader, but she's also a Gaia Guardian. That's right, she's one of the guardians of the Gaia temples. So, that's a new change for her. I mean, you got to incorporate the Gaia temples from Sonic Unleashed. You need guardians for them. So what other better way to incorporate a character like Lupe maybe than to let her be a guardian? And that's exactly what she is in her newest incarnation. Now, do a lot of people agree with her being young, the change happening? Oh, no, not a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of people pretty much don't like any of pretty much not a lot of people like any of the changes. To be quite honest, some don't like how certain characters are made younger, older, or whatever. They don't like it. Period. But that's the direction they want to go in. And like I said, if it makes her younger and everything, I think it's more along the lines to make it more of an understanding, more of a more realistic understanding deal. Because if they kept her older, think of it this way. It's like you have Sonic and Sally technically looking up to her as their elder. It's like she should be the one leading, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't think Ian was ever a fan of that. I mean, I'm sure he was a fan of Lupe, don't get me wrong. But I don't think he was ever much of a fan of her being the oldest out of any Freedom Fighter, any characters, main characters, or any of the major characters, or minor characters or anything like that, or sub-major characters. I don't think he liked the fact, honestly, that she was taller, more statuesque, as well as older than everybody else. So I believe this was his answer of saying, you know what, if I'm going to bring Lupe back, I'm going to put her on the same age level as Sonic and Sally. I'm going to make her just as young as they are, so it's more relatable. And that's probably what happened. So anyway, that's the Animated Girl Profiles Confidential on Lupe the Wolf from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, comic book, and Sad AM. Let me know what you guys think down below. And what do you think we'll expect from Lupe after her appearances? Do you think we'll see more of her? And do you think maybe we'll get some Sonic Universe story arcs with her? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. And I will talk to you all later. But again, let me know what you guys think. Do you think we'll get some Sonic Universe story arcs with her? Let me know down below. Talk to you all later. God bless. Take care.